Yo, guys, how are we doing today? We've got qualifiers going on right now, but also welcome to another World Football Stream, a BR football stream. I'm Adrian. Thank you for joining me once again, another Thursday for talking about the sport that we all love. And one of the most beloved leagues that we talk about often here is the Premier League, of course, and in general, one of the most beloved things in sports, in the sports sphere on the internet, is dunking on predictions from creators in particular, but just dunking on predictions from anyone in particular, especially when they're wrong. I mean, only when they're wrong. Look, I get it. I've been exposed to that plenty of times. I've put many a putrid predictions up on the internet. I understand the game, man. So today, we're going to update. I get a chance at redemption. We're going to refresh some of these predictions. We're going to revisit and update the Premier League predictions that I made back in August because we're almost at the halfway point of the schedule, kind of, not really of the season in general, but we're almost there. We have plenty of categories to go through, as you can see from the little sidebar there. Different European places, best manager, golden boot, etc. And let's actually start right there with the golden boot. Let's start with someone who's going to score the most goals, the golden boot winner, and assuming this dude stays healthy, we can almost call it at this point in November, it's Erling Haaland. Hey, surprise, it's Erling Haaland, of course. So my pick from the beginning of the season was Victor Gyökeres, as I thought that he would do well, but Arsenal would just fall short in the league. That was what I said back then, but Gyökeres has 4 goals. Erling Haaland is on 14, a 10-goal lead already. I mean, whether we're talking Champions League or Premier League, we cannot stay away from this guy. He always comes up in our conversations. 11 goals. He has more than that. 11 games, 14 goals, 1 assist. And you can only see him getting more as City are starting to play really, really well and also really starting to change a little bit how they play, this sort of way that they attack so rapidly. When you have Erling Haaland running into space, he is absolutely unbelievable. When you are giving him good service in the box, as someone like Jeremy Doku has done, he's just going to get more and more and more goals. His closest challenger is Igor Thiago, and then it's Danny Welbeck. So, like I said, Haaland stays injury free. And like Chronic has said in the app, Golden Boot isn't even a question. If he stays injury free, nobody's going to catch this man. Nobody can score this kind of volume of goals. Victor Gyökeres last year in Portugal, maybe, but not yet in the Prem. So, Erling Haaland, let's say congratulations already. I'm pretty positive. Now, young player of the season so far, young player of the year. This is always a fun one. And I mean, honestly, the Young Player of the Season award from the actual Premier League and the Players Football Association, they aren't even that young sometimes. Sometimes they're in like their early 20s, but I'm going with Estevang, a true young player, a young guy, an 18-year-old. He turned 18 in April of this year. And honestly, with how he has started, this was my pick in August. I'm sticking with this pick, right? He isn't a regular starter just yet at Chelsea, which is maybe a good thing. You know, shout out Maresca for not starting him match in, match out. But whenever he comes onto the pitch, you know he will deliver. 1 goal, 1 assist, just in the Premier League, because like I said, he's not really a starter. But he'll add a new dimension, not just from goals and assists, by, his ability to beat players on the dribble. He'll play dangerous balls into the box for the attackers to latch onto. He'll have a goal shout himself, whether shooting from outside the box on his left or showing his great instincts in the box, which he, of course, did against Liverpool. And that's only going to improve. We're only in November of this season so far, and he's already looking very comfortable in a country that has a completely different climate. There's a lot of, photos of him reacting to the cold and everything these days. Completely different climate, culture, everything, and he's done fine. I think his influence is only going to grow. For me, he's retaining his crown from that I gave him back in August, but hey, who knows? Maybe Max Dowman from Arsenal will give him a run, but I think that Estevang is going to be the guy this season. Jared says he's fun to watch. I assume you're talking about Estevang. If you're talking about Haaland, He's also fun to watch, but yes, Estevão is just unbelievable to watch. He's one of those players that can entertain you in a myriad ways. Bonafide says Golden Boot winner Mickey Van de Ven. He's on his way. He scored just as many goals as Victor Gyökeres this season across all competitions. So Mickey Van de Ven's on his way. All he needs to do, he'll just slalom through teams over and over and over again. Just give him that right to continue just slaloming through teams. Just go. Give him that license to do so. Let him score the goals. And Brave says Chelsea sucks. Hey, we accept all opinions, you know? We accept them all, Brave. That is your opinion. We'll see if they end up like that, as you say, sucking. Or, hey, I'm going to give my predictions on where they're going to end up. Maybe we'll agree, maybe we won't. But let's move on to the best transfer by the end of this season. So guys who still have time to sort of come good. And in August, I thought that Florian Wirtz would be that guy. He still has time, but right now it's so clearly Gigio Donnarumma from Manchester City. No other player, in my opinion, has been as a newcomer to the league, that is, has been as impactful as Gigio Donnarumma. And it's funny because myself included, back in August or whenever, August when he signed with them, there was speculation about it. Reason being is that, and it's totally reasonable, is that Ederson was so integral to how City play, and Donnarumma is just not that guy. He's not that kind of player. What he is, though, is an absolutely elite shot stopper who has papered over the cracks of some of City's struggles in defense so far to begin the season. Now, they have improved in that dimension, but the thinking was for Pep, I assume, was, okay, we're going to have to change our style a bit because they can't rely on Rodri to stay fit. He was central to what they were doing in the Premier League, and we saw how much they suffered without him last season. They don't have Ederson anymore to contribute to their style of play. So the transition to playing in transition way more was going to increase. And so to play this way, you can expect to face more shots, and you need a badass in goal to stop them. Donnarumma is just that. He's become key to the sort of tactical shift that we're seeing at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. Once again, even though Pep said that when they are playing on the counter, he said this earlier in the season, it's because they aren't executing their game plan well. They aren't doing it properly, and they're not playing well. So there's no reason, there's no intention to actually play like that. But I think that's changed since then. And Donnarumma has helped them with this style, with how good he is at stopping goals from going in. I mean, how many one-on-ones have we seen him save? How many quick getting down low from a header from a corner or what have you? Unbelievable. Now, Joe says, glory, glory, Man United. Brave says, glory, glory. We got some glory, Man United going on in the chat. Jared said, Truffet might be a better signing pound for pound. Yes. Actually, yes, Sunderland signings are a great shout. Yeah, I mean, another one that I was thinking was Granit Xhaka. Fantastic signing for Sunderland, as everyone has sort of seen, helping Arsenal to drop points once again, I've seen some people say. But yeah, Granit Xhaka for Sunderland was another one that I was sort of pondering on. But I went with Donnarumma because I think that he will, in the end, be key, as I was saying, to the sort of transformation of their tactics in order for them to become a title contender once again, because a lot of people didn't see them as that. Mystic says, just slagging Xhaka off has been integral in Sunderland, just sitting in fourth. Yeah, we just sort of went over that. But yeah, I'm not slagging him off. I'm just saying that I think that Donnarumma has been more impactful to them. And we'll see if Sunderland can stick around. If they have the ability to hang, that will be unbelievable. And then when I redo these once again, or when we go over the awards at the end of the season, Xhaka will absolutely be up there, but we'll see where they end up. We've seen a lot of teams, like remember how good Tottenham was until November, December under Ange Postecoglou, and then they fell off quite a bit. We'll see how Sunderland do. We'll see. Now, let's switch gears completely. Changing to a fashion show now. Best and worst kit. I want to see what you guys think in the chat here. I'm obviously super qualified to host a fashion segment. I mean, plain t-shirt. Has anyone ever done that before? So my credentials out of the way. Let's talk about the best kit this season first. And for me, there's no fresher, no cleaner, no more timeless than what Arsenal and Adidas cooked up for their third kit. Arsenal's second kit, the navy one, not for me personally. But this, I mean, I support Benfica, but this kit has me sort of looking over my shoulder at it. I mean, you know that meme of the dude walking with his girlfriend, but he's looking over his shoulder at the other girl that just walked past. That's me and probably a lot of Premier League fans when it comes to this kit. The details are sick because since this one was made as a celebration of 20 years since their last season at Highbury, there's all kinds of Easter eggs and sort of thoughtful touches put throughout. There's the embosser all over Highbury graphic all over the place. Can't really see it in this image, but when you look up close, you can see it's over the entirety of the kit. Stunning. The dark red, which is a callback to that iconic burgundy kit from their final season at Highbury. I'm sure you can picture Thierry Henry wearing it right now. The big O2 on the front. It's just a classy shirt. When you add all in these fine details, it's a timeless one as well. They really did Highbury proud with this design, in my opinion. The marble kit from 2020 was kind of nice, but this one is so much nicer. This is a kit that you can wear to dinner. You could wear to a wedding and it would be fine. To a funeral? No. Okay, I'll stop there. I'll stop there. It's not that nice, but it is very, very nice. Now, the complete opposite of that, a kit that maybe needs to have a funeral ASAP. We're talking about the worst kit. The reigning champ, just like I picked back in August, is still Man City's third kit, the one that's supposed to give tribute to the gray, rainy skies of Manchester, a tribute to the sky. Hell yeah. It comes across looking like, coupled with that green, it really looks like something that only streetwear people would like in almost an ironic kind of way, mostly like the football core, footy fashion type of people. I can picture a dude with like a mustache and an Aussie mullet wearing this one with a pair of jeans or something and like some Nike Total 90s from 2002, some indoor Total 90s from 2002. But for the everyman, it kind of looks like a construction worker vest, like inverted with the neon and the silver. And the one time I believe it was the only time that they actually wore it was against Aston Villa. And they lost. It was their only loss in their previous 6 Premier League matches, all wins except for that game. So it's absolutely the kit that caused that issue. The players were probably protesting having to wear that horrific kit. That has to be the case, right? But you saw a lot of City fans after that match saying they hope that they never see City wear this again. And hey, I get it, especially when City have one of the nicest kits in their all black kit. That for me is a contender for one of the best kits of this season. But they needed to balance things out with one of the worst kits as well, so have some balance in the world. So congratulations to City for having the worst, commiserations maybe, what do I say here? Congratulations, commiserations on having the worst kit in the Premier League. Sports Watcher says, to a wedding, yeah, of course. Throw a football kit on to go to a wedding, as long as it's a classy white one like that, Or maybe don't wear white at a wedding if that's what you were getting at. I don't know. You don't want to, overshadow the bride. But anyways, let's move on to the European spots here. We'll leave the fashion in the rear view window. And let's move on to some updated league rankings on the European positions. So 7th downward or upward, depending on how you look. I guess upward, if you're looking at the table. So in 7th, where I had Manchester United previously this summer, I think I still have them there. I think that when the season started, they looked good, even in that loss to Arsenal. Then they looked like last season's banter team again for a little bit, Manchester United. And then all of a sudden, they started to click once again. They won 3 in a row. Recently, they drew 2 in a row, yes. One against new manager Bounce Forest, and then Tottenham away. Both were away, actually. But hey, 5 matches undefeated for Manchester United, winning every single match in 1 month, as they haven't done under Ruben Amorim previously. They did that in October. They're in 7th now. I think they will hang on to 7th this season. Just quickly, K2 saying neon kits have always looked truly awful. Don't know why teams continue to try. Yeah, it's hard to come across a neon kit that looks really good. Man City took a big swing and it was a huge miss. Now, Tottenham, they also had a huge miss. I find their kits are very boring, but Tottenham in the standings, I think they will hang on to or get into 6th place. I think it's going to be a bit touch and go at times, topsy-turvy. But I did purchase stocks in Xavi Simons. And I still believe he will come alive for Tottenham Hotspur. And with Dominic Solanke returning as well, without having to rely on this man, Richarlison, as the striker, all respect to him, I think Tottenham are very much capable of finishing in sixth place. Some questions were had of Thomas Frank after they lost two in a row, which is funny because the same people were praising him at the very beginning of the season for how he started at Spurs. But I'm also a big enjoyer of someone we, mentioned in the chat already, Mickey Van de Ven, and that Romero partnership at the back. Destiny Odoji is back, kind of dealing with those injuries. But again, get Xavi Simons firing, and that's a whole new dimension, a fantastic player to add to that attack, someone who can create and can score himself. And Tottenham can finish as high as sixth. Now in fifth, fear it, run from it, doubt it. But Unai Emery's Aston Villa will bounce back and beat a tough team in the Premier League. They started terribly this season. A lot of people were saying Emery out at one point, winless in 5 matches. They even had this guy, Emi Martinez, who looked like he wanted to go to Manchester United. He did, and he almost went to Manchester United this past summer. But he's back. He's back to playing very well for them. They did lose to Liverpool, but they also won 4 matches on the trot, including a win over Manchester City, which we went over. But they bounced back from that Liverpool loss with an emphatic 4-0 win over Bournemouth, which is not an easy side to play against, as you guys know. Emi Buendia is playing really well, and thankfully so, because the signings of Harvey Elliott, Jadon Sancho have been busts so far. Also, Morgan Rogers hasn't had as big of a impact as he would have liked compared to last season, which goes to show they still have room to improve, in my opinion, and they will do under Unai Emery, just not to the top 4, I don't think. I think they'll max out at 5. Now, let's get to our first top 4 side, and coming in at 4th, I have a team who is currently in 8th, Liverpool. Wild. Wild. Looking at their form is absolutely insane. 5 losses in 6 matches. Crazy. The form of this man, Mohamed Salah, is a huge difference maker compared to last season. I mean, he was really, really helping carry that team last season. 5 losses in 6 matches. I can't believe that. I thought that they would just sort of sneak the title ahead of Arsenal when I made these predictions back in the summer. Now I think that their difficulties will continue, because getting all of these new signings to gel, as well as structuring your team a little bit differently, that's going to take time. Slot even said himself, and look, Jaded on YouTube says, thoughts on Liverpool's current form. I think some of it Arne Slot sort of alluded to himself when he said that last season was pretty easy and that he didn't have any signings to sort of slot into the team. Pun intended, I guess. That was accidental, though, except for Chiesa. So he didn't have any new signings to integrate last season. He could kind of pick up where Klopp left off, make little tweaks here and there. Gravenberch in the midfield, covering that back line, looking good doing so. Getting a better tune of Dominic Szoboszlai, Salah playing unbelievably well. It all went well. Now this season has been rough. But given the quality of the squad, it's been partially rough because of so many players added. Given the quality of the squad, though, and given that I still believe that Arne Slot is a good coach, I think this season they climb as high as 4th. And then next season, with a couple of center back signings, which they definitely need, huge, huge miss with Marguehi, they will be a genuine shot to win the title once again. Now, in 3rd place, I still believe. I can't remember who it was that said that they think that Chelsea sucks. I still believe for some reason in this Chelsea team. I've doubted them so many times in the past, and they just find a way. Like, they'll have this mind-numbing loss, and then they'll go on a crazy run. They'll beat some big teams. So I do think that Chelsea will still make it to 3rd. Because I do think that they'll get better and better, especially once they get Cole Palmer back in the fold. He hasn't played a Premier League match since his cameo in the loss against Manchester United, and he probably won't be back until the end of December or early January. They have quite a few injuries, and yet they're still doing great. And a lot of that comes down to this man right here who is playing out of his mind, Moises Caicedo, having the season of his life, absolutely integral to the team. He's the kind of player that, well, now he's added goals to his game, which is, I mean, he was already good. But he's the kind of player that you can put anyone next to him and you can still feel confident that your midfield is going to do well just because of how well he controls everything. He is absolutely everywhere. maybe not to the degree that like an N'Golo Kante was, where everyone associates that with him being up way forward, up, then he's back defending, then he's chasing someone back, behind the defenders to stop a one-on-one, that kind of thing. He's not quite at that level of being everywhere-ness, but he absolutely has a bit of that gene in him. So I think that Moises Caicedo is huge. If he is to go down, that is a whole different story for Chelsea. But assuming he stays healthy and they get some of these other guys back, I think that Chelsea's going to be a very, very strong team. I'm not a huge believer in Sanchez in goal, not a follower of him, but I have to hand it to him. He's kind of shut me up. 6 clean sheets so far this season. Plus the guy I spoke of earlier, Estevan. Surely they'll make some moves in January as well to sort of paper over the cracks, and those cracks being injuries in their squad. I like Chelsea in third still. Now, in second place, who will it be? Will Arsenal fall short once again? I have a team that I had in fourth previously. That team is Man City. So Man City moving up the table. I have them finishing in second. Huge upgrade. They've been promoted by me. Now, I spoke with them a lot earlier when speaking about Gigi Donnarumma, but just to recap, they have perhaps the best shot stopper in the league in this moment in Donnarumma. They have easily the best goal scorer in the league in Erling Haaland. I think this change of play that they have gone through under Pep is really starting to take shape, which also is typical of Man City in the past, right? Well, not last season, but by the time the new year comes around, they would go on this crazy unbeaten run in the Premier League and clean up because all of these ideas that Pep Guardiola has been hammering into their head sink in. All of these new players start to get comfortable, like a Tijani Reinders, like a Rayan Cherki, who just returned from injury. So I don't know that they will go that far as like going unbeaten to win the league like they used to do. It's a new style of play. There's new players. I think that there will still be some slip ups from them. However, I think they will give the leaders a real run for their money. And who do I see as the winners? Of course, if you've been looking at this list, there's obviously a big name missing, and I see the winner of the Premier League as none other than Arsenal. I think they're going to snap the streak and win their first Premier League since 2004, 21 years. It will be 22 years ago by the time the end of the season comes around. Previously, I thought they would fall short in second place. One thing in particular that has caught my eye, though, this season is their ability to defend. Their defense is unreal this season. Okay, match against Sunderland aside, but their defending is unbelievable. That means that even when their attack isn't scoring a ton, they will always have a chance at getting 3 points because they just don't concede goals. And then, a corner kick later and they've got a goal and they win the match. Now, their attack is struggling from a personnel point of view at the moment. In their last match against Sunderland, Havertz, Madueke, Gabriel Jesus, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Gyökeres all out injured. That's crazy. I mean, a lot of them are returning soon, so the attack will be dangerous again. But if Gyökeres starts scoring, which I believe he will, with the return of all those other guys, I think Arsenal will just be too irresistible this season and win the league. And in light of that, our final segment here, Manager of the Year, our final pick, I have Arteta. I mean, the way he has them playing defensively, that 8-match run across all competitions without conceding a single goal, that was something. The way he has been able to get them to play at a consistent level for the past few years has been impressive. Not quite champion worthy so far, but I think that changes this season. It's been overall quite impressive. Yes, he has had more investment than most squads in the Premier League, than most managers in Europe. But it's one thing to spend, and it's another thing to be able to sort of tie it all together, right? It's a consistently underrated skill in managers. It's something that Pep Guardiola does really well. He deserves praise for as well, I think, because yes, you can spend, but that's no guarantee that you're actually going to win. And you can see, even with Man City's resurgence, Arsenal are still continuing to extend their lead. So I have to give it to Mikel Arteta because they're actually improving players as well. Like, clearly, corny as it may be from the outside looking in, clearly his man management is working, and we see guys coming off the bench to have an impact. We see Mikel Merino as a striker, a role he hasn't had previously. That's creativity from Arteta there. That's thinking outside of the box. So Mikel Arteta is my pick for manager of the season. Should they finally get that Premier League crown, as I expect them to do. So, I mean, look, The reason why I thought that Arsenal would fall short in the past was because I thought that they were going to make a deep, deep run in the Champions League. I still think that they can make a deep run in the Champions League, but there's just this certain single-mindedness that you see in champions every now and then that comes along where it seems like just everyone is on the same page, that they've fallen short too many times and they're finally going to get that crown. Previously with Arsenal, when they were falling short, it was just, they would get into the top four under Arsene Wenger when they were coming close, when they were still very competitive. But now it's second over and over and over again. And I think that this team has matured enough under Mikel Arteta. And the players that they brought in, that added depth that they have now, where guys like Martinelli are just, coming off of the bench, starting sometimes, but coming off of the bench and wanting to prove themselves and scoring goals regularly, stuff like that. I think that Arsenal, this is the season that they finally get it done. And I think that the Premier League will be their focus to finally get their hands on that trophy again for the first time in 22 years. Now, Jaded on YouTube, as I was sort of saying how they would always fall short, he says, knowing Arsenal, they will bottle it somehow. Look, would that blow my mind? No, not at all. Would I be surprised if Arsenal falls short somehow and Manchester City, for example, go on to win the league? No, that would not blow my mind. But like I was saying, there's sort of this singular focus that they seem to have right now on the perfection of defending and these added tools that they have in the attack. I think that Arsenal are finally going to do it. But guys, that's it. Consider those picks updated now. Consider yourself lucky to know what's going to happen this season because, forget about what I said in the summer. I was just playing around back then. This is the real thing. These are going to be correct. But as always, thank you to everyone who joined. Thank you for dropping your comments, for asking questions, for giving your opinions, stuff like that. And hey, check out more streams from Bleacher Report from across the world of sports. I'm Adrian. I appreciate you and have a good one. Later, guys.